I didn't.
No,
Paul, you-
involved. It was
you-
an issue.
Can you see us?
It is, yeah.
Okay, Paul's here.
Say something so we know.
Oh,
if you-
Paul, I think you're on mute, Paul.
I'm here. I
Yeah,
planned
you are.
on
Good.
Okay, hey,
Good form.
we'll get started.
Let's get going.
Yes, call to order. Kimberly, Chris, Janet, Tanya, Pat, Lenny, and Paul, myself. So we've got a full complement of our board members. Old business, consideration of the October 22nd minutes.
You're the one that had the meeting.
Thank you for putting those together, Paul. Did
You're
any
replacing
comments
me,
on
right?
the minutes?
So which plate did you get in replacement?
Vanity plate.
Okay.
Seeing none?
Look, yeah, let's see what
7
Lenny has to do is.
77 minutes.
Yeah, no space in there.
No space, okay.
Any comments on the minutes from the? So I move to accept them as written.
Guys, here a second.
Second then?
All those in favor? Approve. Thank you, Paul.
Thanks, Paul.
Welcome.
We don't see you anymore.
It's gone.
Did he leave? What happened?
I'm here.
Can you see-
I'm here. You see me?
No,
No,
I see you.
See where it says launch meeting, I think you need
a launch meeting
to try
again.
it.
There we
Yeah,
are.
there's, oh, okay.
All right, don't play with it.
Yeah.
Don't touch it.
Let it,
Nothing.
let it stay,
Don't touch it.
okay.
So what do we want to talk about today?
How are we gonna go about this?
Yeah. I like Kim's suggestion.
What is the suggestion?
She suggested that we talk to the very agency, the board that
The select board?
suggested that we do this and have them understand that it feels to us like they're not taking it seriously enough.
Well, what if we go and a couple things, I mean, I think it would be good to have the planning board be explicit about that, if that is, if they gonna shut us down.
They're not gonna tell us that though.
I think we should go to the
No,
November
that's what I
21st
mean, is
meeting
go to the meeting,
and
see how
what
it plays out.
happens, and instead of trying to undermine them, which they'll hear about.
Yeah, I wouldn't go to
Just-
the select board,
Until we go to the planning board.
well. What about this? I had suggested inviting them to a special meeting, just. That, of our group, which wouldn't necessarily have to be at this time, because some of them may work and not be able to make this. We
Right.
could just find a time that everyone could make it, so that we could meet for an hour or an hour and a half.
I don't think they'll. do
I
it.
think that they wouldn't come based on the way they responded to our suggesting that at that time.
we could request that, I think
Right.
it would, I don't know that we can assume that they're not going to,
Yeah.
do it, but that would be, I think, the charge that we have is that we work with them, we partner with them, I think is the way the
Right.
language was from the select board. And so, to actually partner with them best would be to be in a meeting that is not necessarily a planning board meeting or a Lakes Committee meeting, is a joint meeting.
Mhm.
And that we could freely discuss it. And, we're not gonna get that in 15 minutes at the regularly scheduled meeting.
Well, I mean, but I agree with the point you made initially here, which is let's go to the meeting and use that not so much to present this material, but to talk about setting up a joint meeting.
Right.
I agree with Lenny on that.
Yeah,
Here's what the select board told us to do. Yeah, sort of lay out what our charge is and how can we accomplish this? Can we have a joint meeting or something, time to?
And then we can also say, we assume that they've read it beforehand. So we
Some
Yeah.
will and some won't. I mean, That's
I
the way it is.
think stating it in that way, which you initiated and you said, that we've been asked to partner with them, I think to use that language and then suggest another meeting. I don't see how they could turn that down, but maybe.
Oh, well,
Pat, can you go back to Sarah and talk to her and get more time? And, does she offer up time at another meeting?
I think that if we didn't go to this meeting, we could go to the next meeting, and it seemed like it was very open. And she would,
Oh,
we might be able to, I think this meeting, they were just so squeezed, with that attorney coming in to talk about. The accessory dwelling units.
why don't we just ask for the next meeting and? more
That's what
time
she
at the
said, she
next
said we
meeting?
can give you plenty of time the next meeting.
Right.
Why don't we do that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's just do that.
Well-
Then we're not going to 2 meetings.
I guess when we first talked to Hans about the 21st, meeting on the 21st, it wasn't, the concept wasn't that it was a full meeting, so the next meeting may fill up, and I don't perceive that we're a priority for them.
I think we're
So-
not, but I think that we could say that we want more time
Yeah.
and explicitly what that time is. And ask for it at the next meeting, and then if they say no, we have
Well,
to think.
I thought
Right.
doesn't Hans have a role in determining the agenda of the planning board meeting? He said that's what he does.
No, I don't think he does.
Yes,
No, he
yes, he did. He
Yeah.
said that, when we first talked about it, he draws up the agenda
Right.
and, but the agenda has got, applications, it's a couple applications, accessory building applications. So, I guess I wouldn't assume that we can get them to commit to I mean, what do we need for this? An hour? I mean, I would think so.
At least an hour and a half.
And I just don't see us, but. I would think that if Pat talked to Sarah about it and said, how are we gonna do this in a partnership way? I'd love them to read the presentation. I'd love all of them to read the changes. She mentioned to Pat about prioritizing them, and I don't think that that's appropriate. We're not saying that we put in 12 and we really want 6. We're not,
Or do we think one is more important than
yeah,
another?
I
But
mean,
these are vetted out as
Right,
so, yeah, so I don't, so I guess, maybe we should go to the meeting and talk about it, but maybe I think we should get some feedback from Sarah as to, is there a way for us to have a real meeting on this?
Yeah, I think we should do both.
Where we don't have somebody coming in at the last minute with a emergency permit or the attorney, for the town, all of a sudden saying, I've got to get before you guys now, and then there goes our meeting. And that's December. And then we're getting out of luck as far as,
well, given that we're supposed to be working in a partnership, I think we present that and we say, and given this deadline. That we work together to make the time that both parties feel we need to discuss this in a way. That fulfills the promise that, was initiated by the select board.
right,
And hopefully they can do that. I think if they can't do that, then we go to select board. But
We were just talking about how we think we need more than 15 minutes.
yeah, 15 minutes really doesn't work for us.
Well,
Maybe
we're talking about, what we didn't
Well-
understand clearly is that if we wait for the second,
Well-
the next
Paul,
planning
can you
meeting.
say yes?
yeah,
Okay, good. I just.
You
lost
see me?
you on my screen. I can hear
We
you.
can't see you, but we can hear you, so that's good enough.
okay, well,
Hans just walked in, so we were,
I think Hans can be helpful as to how to do this. Because he's,
Yeah.
Well, I think the 15 minutes, I mean, in that meeting, all of this can't be addressed in one meeting. There's just too much for them to digest and figure out where, how it fits in the ordinance. So the 15 minutes is like a presentation. this is what we got. Maybe go through a quick synopsis of each one, you know, with, maybe attend a separate list or part of your presentation as to which ones you think are most pertinent. I think the planning board's gonna look at it and see which ones are easiest to slide in, which ones are gonna be, you know, like obvious fits, and which ones are gonna take more work.
So we should spend the 15 minutes, Hans, at the planning board meeting trying to figure out an agenda for dealing with our presentation. Is that what you're saying? When and
Yes.
how the planning board can hear it?
And asking for another meeting following that.
What is it you want to happen at the meeting? Do you think they're gonna digest this and rewrite the verbiage?
No, we
and
were
send
hoping
it?
that they would read it before we got to the meeting and that we would have a partnership kind of conversation, which is what the select board called our relationship supposedly. And we're looking for a real situation where we could talk to one another, questions could be asked, answered, you know, a real, I mean, if this is to, if you take anything seriously, you want to give it some real time to understand what you're looking at. And we could provide a lot of information. I mean, we could just hand this to them for sure. And because it has great notes, I love that suggested stuff. That's good, but I think it would be, I mean, this is serious and you
Well,
would
I
think
think
that they would take it more
This is the
seriously.
discussion you have with Sarah at the meeting, whenever your 15 minutes is you make your presentation and ask, how do we proceed?
All right, let's just do that then.
Asking, you know, the next step is how we're gonna proceed to do
Yes.
this.
ट्रांसप्लांट करवाने से पहले हमारी ये वीडियो देख लो फालतू खर्चे से
So you feel like you have a plan?
So moved. So moved.
Good.
Oh, good. But so then do we want to invite people to that?
No. I don't think we should.
It's just, in 15 minutes, it's just planning to give them a highlights of what we're gonna present. And ask and explain to them that we think we need significant time and tell them how much time we put into this. And ask them to, how do we best fit into their schedule?
Exactly.
And that should engage a conversation with the planning board and us. Should we have a separate meeting? Is the next meeting coming down the pike gonna be enough time? Because we're gonna say we're gonna, an hour and a half is.
And are you gonna promote this? That's what we have to ask. them.
Well, I
But they
don't
can't
know that
promote
we,
it if they haven't really looked at it yet.
I don't know that we're expecting them to promote it. We're just, like to have a discussion of each of the points. I mean, this isn't so huge that they couldn't read through it, but maybe I'm being too optimistic.
I think some of them.
I think some will,
Yeah.
someone.
Because they'll have it ahead of the meeting.
And I don't, I mean, I guess, you know, we talked about prioritizing this and we feel like these are all important and that we've boiled stuff down to this after looking at a bunch of other stuff. So it's kind of hard to say that this one's more important than that one. We really, we've laid it out where we're hoping that they will take a look at them and consider all of them and, you know, if they don't agree with, some of them, then certainly that would.
So, worst case scenario, what happens if they only like 10 of the 12 or? So
It's not the
then
worst
what do we
case.
do?
That's a good case, as
Yeah.
far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, like two.
I don't think they're gonna take.
Declare victory and retreat, so,
We open champagne.
Hans, their meetings are typically pretty full, their agenda. Yeah.
Yes, they,
So,
they can go for 3 hours easily.
yeah, so,
The cases we have that we're gonna hear, one of them will take a lot of time, the other has the potential to take a lot of time.
yeah. Yeah, so I'm not sure that, we can expect the next meeting, the December meeting to be.
How do you think it would be received if we suggested that we get together for a joint meeting outside of their regular meeting?
They're retired.
Huh?
That's what I thought.
So that's, remember, would they
They're
be,
volunteers, that doesn't
So
have,
are we.
well, so are we, we're all volunteer,
again, it doesn't happen.
they won't do that.
You can ask them, all yeah,
I realize we can ask them, but you don't think that they would take that as a very likely that they would be amenable to that?
I don't, but you can ask, I don't, I can't really speak for them.
Okay.
So then, do you think that it would be likely that they would? It's stated that not the next meeting, but the meeting after that, there's plenty of time. Would they,
Who said that?
what's her name? The
Sarah.
head of the committee.
Sarah.
Sarah,
She doesn't make the agendas,
you do,
I
right?
do.
Could you set aside an hour for us? At the next, not the next meeting.
Possible, I've got one guy that's been putting himself on, so if he doesn't show up, yes, you can have an hour. But right now, the first December meeting is full. So.
Wow.
It's every week,
Excuse me,
every week, twice a week.
Twice.
until December fifth, right now, we're booked, solid. And the second meeting in December would be the 19th. We could probably get an hour there. I'll block an hour there, let's just say that.
Great, there.
Please.
But that's December, I could think
They didn't know. we were
Sarah's
coming.
timeline is January, but
January?
we're getting stuff done in time to make town meeting.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Is January, you think, or?
And she has it figured out. She said January something or other.
She told me if we could meet in December, she could probably make it. I don't know if she meant the meeting at December 5th or December 19th. Just said December, so we'd have to clarify that, but. What
I
is,
think it's gonna take more than one meeting,
yeah,
even, with an hour, even with 2 hours. It can't take a lot.
Well, we could divide it up twice if we knew we weren't gonna be put off. I'm speaking for myself.
What I think is I just don't think I think we just gotta go forward and try and get as much time as we can.
Yeah.
Nobody can make any commitments. We're just speculating here.
Or we
Right.
could also ask them to vote on it when we go for 15 minutes, then they'll have to have read it.
They're not gonna vote on it. This is gonna,
it's gonna take some time.
they don't act that fast. They want to discuss it. I mean, that's why they have 3-hour meetings.
And they have to come up with verbiage to fit it into ordinance.
Right,
Do
well,
they
we've
do-
tried to do that, but that's true.
Do they do that or just
That's not
town attorney do that?
They do it, then they submit it to the attorney.
crap play. Are you sure? Absolutely.
Yeah,
What happened here?
we're gonna, this is gonna be like middle school, we're gonna take your phone away.
All phones on
I heard something. I was just looking.
Hans, what's the steps after, say that 1 hour meeting in December? We kind of wrap it up, or we identified what's gonna go forward. Do you do the work to get that into the town attorney or the mechanism of it, or
It's the planning board.
planning board does?
I just organize their meetings and make sure they're not doing something they're not supposed to do.
And Hans, what about the issue of that Sarah doesn't like this idea anymore, but the necessity of a unanimous vote by the planning board before it goes to the Board of Select Board?
I think that's hogwash.
Why?
A majority,
Should be enough.
yes, yeah, that's good enough for the select board. Why wouldn't it be good for something being presented to the select board?
Okay, all right. And is there any role that the town manager, Lorna D, would play in this, in our process of moving this ahead?
Not really, I mean, she kind of governs the planning board. But the select board governs her, and this came from the select board, so. You're kind of already above her head.
Okay,
All right. So we go forward with the meeting and we discuss how to approach this.
At the meeting, right?
That's the one in November
At the meeting.
21st. Yeah.
At the, next week,
And what time is it?
6 o'clock.
6 p.m.
Yeah,
where are we on the agenda on that meeting, Hans?
first,
First,
this is the agenda right there.
Okay.
I
Okay,
think that was Saturday.
Yeah, I posted this all on the website last Thursday, which is not standard practice. Usually it would go up this Thursday,
Oh, okay.
so
so
we're on to kickstart it.
I made sure that it's out there for people to see.
So if we decided that it's, have we decided to encourage other people to come, or we don't think that's appropriate at this time?
I don't think we wanna do that this time, I guess. I mean, cause it's only 15 minutes. It's such a short amount of
I think it'll
time.
overwhelm them as it is.
Yeah, I mean, I would think that. Yeah, we'll see what the next step is after that.
Okay.
Anything
Okay.
else?
Any other?
What are we doing next?
That's a good question.
Get through this.
This will be a few more steps, I think.
Yeah.
I'm out of town. Just before Christmas through March.
Hmm.
But I can zoom in.
Zoom in.
Okay.
Good. What, is there a date for the town meeting in March?
Mary probably knows where it would be. I don't know off the top of my head.
I think it's usually the second Saturday, isn't it?
I think so.
Is it?
Normally it's the
This is
second
your
Saturday.
copy or do
You
you
just
have
have
an
to see what that is.
That's fine.
And did we present this then?
What's that?
Are we presenting this then? If it goes through all the.
Well, I think it just goes, I'm trying to think.
It would be ordinance changes.
Yeah,
So if it's the normal, it would be March 8th.
yeah,
Because March 1st is a Saturday,
I'm good.
so it'll be either the 8th or the 15th, but I believe it'll be the 8th.
That's good.
So should we pencil in the January 19th? Or no, I'm sorry, December 19th meeting, or should we wait to hear more
As far as,
possibly having more time to talk to the planning board?
I said we've got now.
Yeah, I'll be out of town on December 19th.
geez, I'll be out of town on the 19th.
You know,
Uh-oh,
Thank,
I hate to say this on the record, but
what? Finish your sentence, please.
you know, you always ask for the world and take what you can get. So I'd ask for a meeting, the time at every meeting, at least 30 minutes at each meeting moving forward. During the 15 minutes.
Every minute. Repeat.
That way you're keeping the dialogue moving.
Right.
It's not stalling until 19.
So that would be be the 21st and then December 5th.
is it the 5th?
Yeah, the 5th.
So we keep the ball rolling.
These are Tuesdays, I'm
Yeah,
not.
keep the dialogue
Thursdays.
in motion.
Yeah, I think that would be good.
Is, you know, how, is December 5th, is that all full or?
It is now, but there's one fella I expect he's probably gonna not show up again.
Okay. So we'll just keep it on our schedule and you'll tell us as we go.
Ask to get on that.
So it's this coming Thursday, that's 6.
It's the 21st.
21st, a week
Yeah.
from Thursday.
It's a week from
A week from Thursday.
Thursday. Yeah. Thursday before Thanksgiving.
what? There's a meeting on the 14th, is it? is it the ninth
21st?
and the 21st, right? That's what we're going to ask for as much time as we can get.
That's our 15 minutes of fame.
Yeah, and I think it. You know, just ask for more time as old business at every meeting.
Yeah.
To keep the dialogue going. I
Okay,
wouldn't pigeonhole yourself into 30, just ask for time, open ended.
Good.
Now, on December 5th, you're, if possible, you'll book us in if that guy backs out,
Yeah,
but we're gonna,
I'm gonna do what I can.
Yeah.
See how this next meeting goes, but they allot. So
Yeah.
that might make this other conversation kind of move.
I think you're right, you're repetitively is better than just trying to hit a home run day one.
Yeah, it's more than one meeting.
Makes sense.
and would it be helpful for us to do any lobbying in terms of going to the lake associations and have them look at our presentation and write to the planning board saying they're in support of this?
Well, you know, Lynn Geiger gave a great presentation. Way back in the very beginning.
Right,
If you wanna go through her presentation and see how our ordinance compares to other towns. So that possibly in some of these areas, you can shame them into just adopting something. If another town has something that's close to where you wanna be. I found that's kind of effective.
so the Lynn Geiger presentation would be really helpful for us to even have her with us on one of these.
Well,
Yes and no.
possibly, but I mean,
Remember, what's his name's reaction to Seven Lakes?
No, I don't see us getting into a presentation from Lynn Geiger, but, and if I remember correctly, there wasn't anything that Smithfield is doing that's we're not, or something like that, I don't believe.
She had a graph that might be helpful. She had a PowerPoint.
exactly. Presentation did show some differences and her closing point was.
We should use that.
Have a better ordinance, it's that it wasn't being enforced.
Right, she said, well,
But
yes, good ordinances.
we have good, there's
Enforcement.
some aspects to other towns that we didn't have.
Well, I mean, what one could do is send Lynn a copy of our document that has the 12 changes. And say, does anything in here jump out at you that is similar to what is in other towns besides Belgrade? You might say, oh, yes, this looks a lot like what they, you know, the ordinance, such and such an ordinance in Rome or Smithfield or whatever. Which seems to me, might be helpful.
I think Horizon would be helpful. you know,
Yeah,
they would
yeah.
communicate.
Sure. So, Pat, you wanna do that?
Yeah.
Send it to Lynn, yeah. I think it's maybe.
And then it would be more specific to what we're doing instead of her, whatever that last graph was, which would not be so specific to what we're doing.
Yes.
That's good.
And anytime you tell them that there's other towns doing something and we're not. They think that. We're out on the point of everything, but we're not always the tip of the spear.
Okay. It's a good idea.
I'll send that to Lynn and
See what happens.
see what happens with that.
Feedback is, yeah. Right.
It's gonna be a little shorter meeting than I remember.
Yeah,
That's okay.
it's good.
You ready?
And
That means we met our deadline.
And keep in mind that, you know, these are 12 ideas. You know, for thought. So if they get morphed a little bit. You know, at least you're heading in the right direction still.
Yeah, it's not the end of, the discussion, or the end of our work on it.
Yeah, I mean, I would, if I might. I won't say throw a monkey wrench, because that's not really what I have intended, but. I'm not sure that we're quite ready for prime time in the sense that, and the point, this is a reaction to Hans's point, which I think is a very good one, and it should be taken to heart. I mean, I think we may be at a sort of a jumping off point rather than an end point. And by that, I mean, this might be the beginning of a conversation with the planning board, who quite frankly has, far more experience, and we're coming at this from a more or less, much more of a theoretical point of view. What would be nice? We've listened to lots of people and we understand some of the stuff reasonably well, but we have very little experience in dealing with the issues directly. Planning board has a lot more. I mean, they deal with it to some extent on a theoretical level also. They're not mostly so much in the field like Hans is, but he brings that in. So the point I'm trying to make is, or I am making, is this. The timeline here for getting this stuff approved and on the warrants and so forth for a town meeting in March of 25 is very short. And there's, a whole lot here that we're trying to do. I wonder whether or not we're being unrealistic and whether or not this is the beginning of the discussion and it might make more sense. Oh, I shouldn't put it that way, whether what we really are, it might work out to develop all of this and be thinking more in terms of a longer term, i.e. the following year with, maybe even more changes or changes. So I just saying, let's not be wed to, we've got to get this done this year and they have to look pretty much like this. Because I don't know that that's gonna happen.
And then it becomes all or nothing. So this is a good backup plan,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah,
This can't be a one and done situation.
Yeah,
This
I
is
mean,
the beginning of 12 conversation.
yeah, I mean, I would, we might, maybe we can just get a couple of these done this year and come back and think about, doing the rest of them or doing others or whatever. A little, the following year. And
Yeah,
that
I
doesn't
think-
necessarily have to take the
I agree with you.
entire time. I mean, there are other issues out there that we might be dealing with as well. I don't mean that we should spend every meeting on this for the next year or so. But, it's something that we might want to be looking into and working on for a while.
And I think we'll get some feedback from them later on this.
Yeah, right.
I would expect some,
Yeah.
maybe like this or that.
Sounds a little discouraging.
I think Lenny's just negotiated us way down, here, so, I'm not gonna lead with that, I would not mention that, and I will still push this, I think we spent
Fine,
You know,
if we can.
6-7 months on
That's
this
enough.
with a lot of
That's
thought.
Okay, if we can get this through more or less
Let's-
intact, that's
Well,
fine.
no, I'm just saying, let's push
Fine,
and say,
absolutely.
here, we've laid it out. Give us some feedback, tell us why this can't happen.
Right, well, my
we
words
call
are
you-
for this room only, I'm not gonna say that unless Hans,
Well, it's on.
blabs that, it's on tape,
Okay.
right? That's true.
It's a matter of.
Nobody watches or.
If anybody wants to watch the Zoom meeting, God love them, I guess.
Yeah, right, I don't think anybody.
No, I mean, but Lenny's, I think, 100% accurate. This isn't all gonna go through in one shot.
Yeah.
It's gonna create more conversations, and as these conversations occur, probably more ideas are gonna come. into-
Yeah.
And if it leads to that, what we need to be is open to the idea, that's all.
Yeah.
Because I would like to see all these things go through, and if it takes a year for all of
They
them. to
don't
go
seem
through-
too controversial.
Not to us, but
Well, to
I mean, have
anybody.
you sat in on there? I look at those, I look at people's lots and I'm appalled at the landscaping and how there's no buffer and that's not even mentioned,
Mm.
we're not coming at it from the same point of view. And I think it will do us well to have ongoing conversations if that's what we have to have. But I'm for let's not leading with that, absolutely not, and letting them feel like we want to meet this deadline and force them to read this and give us time to talk about it with them.
Yeah, I think we have to impress, we're a standing committee. We're gonna have a conversation with them. We're gonna respond to their ideas. If they, hopefully they'll send us back to do some work. And this is, and we shouldn't be disappointed if, you know, everything, we just need to be flexible and respond. It's a process
just-
we're into,
We're just asking for dialogue, that's all.
right? It's a
Yeah.
process.
Yeah. But I think we do come from a position of strength in the sense that we're talking about our lakes that are the economic generator for this area, for this town. And most of the voters do not live on the lake, so it's not like we're trying to hurt everybody. We're trying to identify the problems that are hurting our lakes and I mean, the lakes are very fragile.
Well, I think that's the point that needs to be made. Not everybody's getting that very point.
And we're gonna, Kimberly and I are in the comprehensive plan review committee.
Yeah, how's that going?
We've got a section, that's coming right up, public meeting.
Oh,
on
yeah, I
that.
want to attend that. Yeah.
And that's what we're gonna be talking about.
Oh, that's next Wednesday, is it?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's.
Okay,
Yeah,
like
it's in the
5 minutes
evening,
on the
right?
lake, so.
Oh, okay. I saw that on my calendar, I'm like, who's that?
So there's, I think we're gonna, more than just our committee, doing this, it's gonna be. On the comprehensive
Good.
plan review committee,
Great.
so. We're doing,
And the comprehensive plan is sort of like a strategic plan, is it?
yes, it's, the state mandates certain criteria, certain. And we have a great person from, that puts it together, our committee kind of gives them input, or input, and we've had some great meetings with, so at our last meeting, we couldn't figure out, I know it's off topic, where's gonna be the growth area in Belgrade? So
Now, is
Craig
this the
Alexander's there, and a bunch of people are in the know of what's going on, so we laid out the map of the town map where the areas are, everybody got around. We've been struggling to figure out what the growth area should be, and in 10 minutes, just kind of with a little camaraderie and working together. And it was done.
Really?
Yeah,
that's
What they
great.
figure out.
Well, you look at the town, that the state mandates certain amount of area from, based on your population and where you are, growth areas, and it gives criteria where they should be.
Oh.
And so we had to, our committee had to go through that. A lot of it was done by our, a consultant of the state. And then you
Is growth
codify.
area necessarily,
Means
Different.
housing, you have a different growth area for, commercial, they're all different.
how about preservation?
Yes,
Bars?
that's all.
Yes,
in it.
oh, good,
There's a lot of chapters, this is just one chapter,
okay.
but it was one that was difficult for our committee to
Yeah.
gain a consensus on.
So where is it, Pat?
Oh,
Route 11, right
Route
along the waterfront.
Right along the waterfront.
Just kidding.
it's on,
Actually, that's where we're trying to stay away
Is
from.
that
the
near your
active
house, right?
Yeah.
Where your house?
I can send you a picture of it, we mapped it, so
Okay,
that's easy to say.
This is the comprehensive plan that they've been working on and working on and working on.
Well, it's every
right?
10 years.
Every
Yeah.
10 years.
Gotta redo
Nobody
it.
wants
10 years
that.
they do it.
Yeah,
We're gonna put a resort on the camp.
Right, they spend all this time on this thing and they get it all nice and bound up in a book and put it on the shelf and nobody looks at it. Until 8 years later, when the next committee is getting ready to do it, then they look at that book and they spend all this time, everything, it's just a process that goes on. Nobody ever looks at the comprehensive plan.
I was also looking at, things like mission and vision statements. The town doesn't seem to have one.
They do in this,
They do, I didn't see it anyplace.
just in the comprehensive.
Did you
plan.
look at the last comprehensive plan?
That's what everybody says to me. No, I did not look at the.
Well, there you go.
But
Wait,
a mission
come
and a
back
vision
next
statement does not require looking at a comprehensive plan,
Yeah,
so
of course.
I started school in Maine Arts Academy, right? We have comprehensive plans, we have this, until we came up with a mission and vision statement that everybody knows. In fact, it's on all our letterhead now, it's on our sign outside the school. nobody knew who we were. So now everybody knows, and nobody knew that we were free. That's the other thing. Public, high school, that's our logo now. Nobody knew that. Nobody applied to our school because we're a charter school, and they thought therefore they had to go through some rigorous entrance. Once we put that out there, everybody now knows who we are. We've doubled our population, which, by the way, is how we earn money unless it gets pulled out this year by a new coming.
There is a vision statement, yeah,
So there is
Yeah,
one.
there
Do
is
you
one.
know it?
No.
See what I mean?
Well, it hasn't.
but you're talking about
published.
marketing versus strategic planning.
Right,
Right,
And-
but after
and-
you do this, you need to market.
Well, there you go, but that's another, so, okay,
It took me a while. to
another
get
meeting,
that.
another committee, another day.
But the comprehensive plan is mentioned in some of the ordinances.
yeah,
As far as. diversity
Yeah, I
goes.
saw that it
So
was,
it's kind of
and I
a-
have not read
it
it.
was important in developing this committee, the last comprehensive plan, because we cited that as a reason. That was one of the objectives of the 2013 plan.
So if I go online, I should look at this before I go to your meeting this week
We
or
don't,
next.
we won't have anything, the new plan isn't done, it's
The
just.
plan's not done.
it's
I know,
not-
but I should know about the old plan coming to your meeting is what I
You
should know.
can, you can always look at that, that's on,
And it's online, okay. And it's 1,000 trillion pages.
like this.
Oh,
It's pretty
great.
big. Pat and I have reviewed that a few times.
Oh, my gosh.
But it sets a,
Could you send me a one paragraph summary?
page somewhere. I'll bring it in. But it sets guidelines and objectives for, various parts of the comprehensive plan. It could be natural resources, it could be education, it could be housing, on and on. And they, each one of them is treated like a separate piece,
Mhm.
with its objective, where are we now? What should be done? Who should do it?
Uh-huh.
And that's how we got this committee put together, because that previous plan said that, and we were able to cite here in the 2014 plan, it said, you must complete this, create the conservation committee. So that was the oomph that kind of pushed it across the line, or at least got it started.
Yeah, and our mission is to implement the comprehensive plan.
And they speak in a general term, not anywhere near specific is.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
except for the growth areas and some of the other areas, they're very specific, yeah.
Anything else?
Right here. Anybody want to, have a mission to adjourn?
Actually, I have something, this is just, this is not on this topic at all. This is, it's something else for this committee perhaps to be, to at least be aware of. Back last summer, it was in June, the Maine's, you may or may not know, Maine CDC came out with what has, at least in the last few years, been its annual spate of fish consumption advisories for water bodies in the state. Telling, and now there's a general one for all water bodies in the state. That they shouldn't eat, especially pregnant women and children under a certain age, shouldn't eat. Too much of most any fish caught in, at least in freshwater, because of mercury. Which mostly comes in, I believe, comes in from smokestacks of utilities burning coal. In the Midwest and elsewhere, with Jetstream and such, bring it into northern New England. But they also have started issuing fish consumption advisories based on PFAS.
Mhm.
And you may have noticed that McGraw Pond and Salmon Lake were on that list.
Mhm.
With a fish consumption advisory more stringent than the state standard one on mercury for PFAS. And the PFAS that's in our lakes comes from the capped landfill. That's the town of Oakland's capped landfill that sits up just on the east side of Town Farm Road, about halfway up McGraw Pond. I may have mentioned something about this in here in the past. We became aware of this as a possibility, or not so much the PFAS, but just that there was leachate, what's called leachate, coming off of the landfill back in 2020 or early 2021, when one of the members of the Lake Association, who is an environmental engineer and has a camp on the east side of McGraw Pond, brought it to the attention of the Lake Association Board of Directors, brought to their attention that there was the possibility that a capped landfill that sat about 2,000 feet from the lake and at 200 feet above the water level, there's the possibility that leachate might be getting into the lake, and it would be worth testing to see if it was, in fact. So he actually donated a meter, relatively simple type testing, where you test for what's called specific conductance of the water. And that is, it's just kind of what it sounds like. It's how well the water conducts electricity.
Oh.
And and we started testing not only the water in the lake itself, but also the streams coming down the side of the hill from the area where the cap landfill is, and in other areas as well on the other side of the lake and so forth for comparison. The reason why you get greater conductance if there are adulterants in the water, various chemicals in the water. Give it seawater, for example, just with lots and lots of different things in it. It's salt, of course, but also other minerals, has a much higher conductance than pure fresh water. And lo and behold, what we found was that there was a much greater conductance, much higher specific conductance coming from the landfill, and much higher conductance in the pond than in other ponds. And in fact, we located historical data that the Lake Stewards of Maine had in fact been doing the conductance of the Belgrade lakes, as well as of course, other lakes, going back to the 1970s. And McGraw Pond's specific conductance, or they just call it conductance, I believe, started to go up rather dramatically, or rather significantly, I should say, beginning in the 1970s. And it's, quite a bit higher now. So anyway, to make a somewhat long story short, we both approached the town of Oakland to do something about the landfill and the leachate, and we also approached DEP to have them do more testing and so forth. The town of Oakland, told us to go jump in the lake, basically.
Is that where the solar panels are in the existing?
No, this has nothing to do with solar panels.
No, but that was capped. That was a landfill that was capped, and then they put solar panels on top of it.
Is that in Belgrade or?
Oakland.
That's Oakland off the Valpine.
And I thought the PFAS came from the sludge.
No, not in this case, no.
And also no eating of deer or
No,
turkey.
well, that's not this case.
That's in Winslow.
Yeah, and Fairfield, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, this is a specific, this is not, this is not a case of sludge.
Okay,
This is PFAS coming right
from the landfill.
from the landfill. And that's not, there's other stuff coming out of that landfill too,
Right.
but they were only testing for PFAS.
Yeah.
So anyway, we got DEP interested. They started testing for it because DEP's up to its, eyeballs in PFAS issues.
Yeah,
And so they were testing for PFAS, and sure enough, they found lots of it there, as well as in the pond. And so they got Maine CDC involved, and that's how the advisory came about. The reason I mentioned all of this is your comment a few minutes ago, Pat, that, the lakes are, our most important natural resource, and that's what they drives the economy and so forth. Well, fish consumption advisories, they hurt. I mean, they tell people, hey, don't eat the fish, of course. But it also is saying, well, these are polluted lakes with toxic chemicals.
Yeah.
And I would just mention that the water that comes out of McGraw Pond into Salmon Lake that then flows on into Great Pond, into the Long Pond and into
It's all
Mesonoka.
connected now.
So all that stuff winds up going through a good part of the chain, albeit diluted a fair amount. So the Lake Association are going to pursue this to try to get DEP and the town to do something about it, significant. But you might, perhaps this committee at some point, if appropriate, might take it up a little bit in terms of trying to help with getting Oakland to actually do something about their polluting of Belgrade's lakes. Those two are just as much our lakes as they are Oakland's lakes.
Right. Wow.
Yeah, and that would be a great way to start working. Well, that's a great way, but
What about the other
lead into
chemicals
working
then?
with Oakland.
I mean, PFAS is just fashionable now, I wonder what the other chemicals are.
Well, the other chemicals are things like PCBs, polychloride, there are heavy metals of various kinds that come out of there.
Sure.
I don't know, there's a whole witch's brew of things that come out of landfills. It's hard to know out of any particular landfill exactly what you have, it just depends on what went in there. That landfill was both sort of domestic and industrial, so there's a lot of stuff in there.
Now, where is this landfill?
Well, it's not far from Alpine, where Alpine Street hits Town Farm Road, maybe a little bit.
Town Farm comes off of Route 11.
Right.
Yes,
Runs over
towards-
to
137.
37.
Because when I was a kid, there was a dump on Alpine Street.
And that's where the solar is.
Yeah, well, that maybe, I don't think it's not actually on Alpine, it's or maybe I'm wrong, I think it's a little further, closer to Route 11 than that.
So it would have gone into Messalonsky Stream, that stuff? On Alpine Street is,
But that's a different landfill.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
not the
okay.
one that
Yeah.
Lenny's talking about.
Yeah, it's not far from there, but it's not the same one.
okay,
Yeah. So it's probably about another quarter mile closer to Route 11.
And there was a dump on Chandler Road. And then the one that we used to shoot rats as a kid was up off of, up from Rome, up from 225 going north to, is that the Starch Road or what is that? It's, there's a school there. You come from 27 on the 225 and there's a school on the left. That road there, that's the Mercer Road.
Yeah, where the town office is.
Yeah, you go up there. about a
these are
mile,
like
and there
super
was a-
funds, I mean, super, whatever they call them,
Yeah, Superfund sites,
Yeah.
that's the right term.
yeah.
I'm not sure, well, I don't know that it's that bad, but
The one on Chandler Road, I mean, they moved the barn over there and then I'm just like,
Yeah,
and then the one in Rome, there's a wellhead, right? Yeah, just like, God. I would not want to drink the water from the dump.
Lenny, do you know what an impaired lake is? Part of our presentation on for their comp plan review is, we have, DEP has, Great Pond, Long Pond is impaired. Do you know?
impaired.
Impaired.
No, I don't, and the reason, and it's not for lack of trying to understand, there's, their term, it's convoluted terminology. There's threatened and impaired, and to try and understand the difference between them, it's just like going down a rabbit hole.
If the lake is not drinking water quality, it's impaired.
So what's threatened?
Well,
Cause there's a list of like
Step below.
200 or something threatened and impaired is only
Impaired is worse.
22, there are 22 impaired. and-
22 impaired.
Maybe.
Yeah, and, no, it has to do with, well, I mean, I don't know, I mean, I've tried to understand it, if you just Google, Maine DEP threatened and impaired list, you'll get it, and there's an and there's verbiage there where they, in theory, explain what it means, and I've tried.
I mean,
on
the
several
implication
occasions.
is that 22 impaired is worse than the,
Yeah, but it doesn't, but that's, you're just implying that by the term threatened versus impaired. And the fact that it's 22 versus several hundred, but it's not, but the
because
reality.
they distinguish between the two of them. And it just seems like the 22 are worse.
But they aren't, I mean, you
So they're all
can't, you can't begin to compare, I mean,
They're trying to
Salmon
make
Lake,
it sound
which
better.
is on the threatened, is clearly far worse condition than Great Pond or Long Pond. I mean, you can't begin to, I mean, Long Pond probably has the best water quality in the whole Belgrade Lake chain, and it's impaired, I mean, that's just nonsense, if you're thinking about it in terms of
Water quality.
in water quality, so, you know.
Yeah, I looked, I couldn't get it concise.
I mean, it's, yeah. I can't answer that. I mean,
Well, it's not good there, but it's.
well, I would just say,
Okay, how are we, you all set? Any other things to talk about?
Well, that's a good one that you brought that up. When we-
Yeah, Paul.
Well, maybe he already left.
Yeah.
I'm here. I'm still here. Hello? He just froze. What happened? Hello, hello?